Oh my god, what a game. Team USA comes back to beat Serbia in an instant classic. They're going to the gold medal game after a 17-point comeback, led by Steph Curry, of course, who had 36 points for them. I'm not sure if that's record or not, it might be, but that was an insane game all around. Insane comeback led by Curry and LeBron, and oh my god, if you didn't catch that game, I feel sorry for you, but that was insane comeback, instant classic. I mean, what a way for them to make the gold medal game after a whole lot of controversy along the way and a really tough Serbia team too. They controlled the game really the whole game up until the final quarter, and it took everything Team USA had, finally committing on defense and playing it on both ends, getting a big game from Joel Embiid finally too, and it all came together for them in the end. It took a little bit of, I'm not going to say luck, but a little bit of fouling from both teams, I think I would say, for them to kind of pull the comeback off. But man, that was insane. Absolutely insane game. Can pull up the numbers here again. Yeah, Steph Curry, 36 points. I could hardly believe that. I mean, with how many 3-point shots Serbia made, I mean, it felt like they couldn't miss. They went 15 of 39 from three. It felt like they went 20 of 25, if I'm being honest. They could not miss in the first half. They finally did in the fourth quarter a little bit, but even during the third quarter, they were automatic. I mean, you can definitely argue that Team USA and guys like Anthony Edwards, Devin Booker, Drew Holiday were gambling a bit too much, and I would definitely agree with you. But even still, Bogdan Bogdanovic was making insane shots at one point. I can't even pronounce half their names, if I'm being honest with you. I don't think a lot of us could. But man, they were hooping. The whole Serbia team, their guards, wings, even their bigs, apart from Jokic, they were hitting a few threes too. It was insane. They had a great team flow. Jokic was orchestrating the whole thing. He had them rolling. I won't even lie at all. And, apart from all the good with the comeback for Team USA, they cannot afford to be so lackadaisical during the first half in general, especially during the first quarter. I thought they really got their lesson learned when they were playing South Sudan and Germany earlier during the Showcase Cup games. When they don't come out strong, a team can definitely hang with them and even put them down 10, 15, nearly 20 points. And they got a reminder of that tonight. It took everything they had to come back into this game and ultimately end up winning, but it came down to the final few minutes. Like, they did not have the game secured at all, and even up until Curry's last free throw trip, they were only up 3, and he put them up 5 to finally give them a little blanket so Serbia couldn't tie it or win it at the end. But man, that insanity, absolutely insane. I can't remember the last time I've been that hyped up for a game. It's been a long time. I mean, Lakers, of course, during the playoffs were pretty exciting too, but on the other hand, they lost their leads against the Denver Nuggets, apart from the US here coming back and beating a Nikola Jokic-led team, coming back down from 17 points and taking everything it had for them to do it. Man, I don't know about you guys, but I haven't been up and yelling at my TV like that in a long time. How are you guys feeling about the game? What are your thoughts immediately after? How are you feeling? What were your main takeaways apart from, the comeback itself? Who played well? Who didn't play well? What stood out to you? Serbia didn't hit a single three in the fourth quarter. I don't know if I caught that or not, but you might be right. They lost their touch with, Team USA applying more pressure during the fourth quarter. You might be right. I don't know if I could. Can I pull that up during the fourth quarter? If they didn't, I can't believe I missed that if they didn't. Yeah, I don't see a 3-point shot made by them. I know Bogdanovic had that 3-point play toward the end when he kind of elbowed Embiid and drew the foul and it went in. They could have challenged that, I definitely would have. I thought that was a foul, but you might be right. I don't remember them making a 3-point shot. I feel like Micic might have made one. Was that the late third quarter? I know he made one in the second half for sure. Wow, you might be right about that. Wow, yeah. In general, that was an insane game, insane fourth quarter. What did Melo do to rile Serbia up? I don't think he did anything. I mean, the guy was watching the game, and Bogdanovic hit the Melo celebration, the three to the dome, and he kept doing it. They haven't even played together before or anything, but Bogdanovic must have seen him in the crowd, and that's all it took. Because that guy was insane too throughout the game. The shooting numbers for him ended up looking a little bit wonky with the 3 for 10 from 3, but it felt like Bogdanovich couldn't miss. He was stroking it from all over the court. Pause. But I mean, holy crap, their team in general, they couldn't miss. It felt like it feels like they made way more than 15 3-point shots. Looking back on the box score here, you could have told me they made 20 to 25, and I would have had no question about it. Wow, what a game! I still can't believe that. Eesh. Team USA, they were down what, 9 at the half, and yeah, they had 32 points during the fourth quarter to Serbia's 15. By far the lowest scoring quarter that Serbia had throughout the game. I mean, Serbia, they had 54 points at halftime, and it looked like they're well on their way to breaking 100 toward the end of the third quarter with the way they were shooting. But Team USA finally locked in defensively, and what a game for Joel Embiid. He picked a good game to finally come out and play hard on both ends. It took every bit that he had, and with Jokic, scanning the court, being physical, and the refs letting him get away with a lot of physicality. They were definitely aware that he had 4 fouls, and they didn't want him to go out of the game. Not saying it should have went one way or the other with it, but there was a lot of physicality that they were letting slide, and they needed Joel Embiid out there for physicality. And I mean, shout out to LeBron too. He took on that Jokic matchup during a majority of the fourth quarter, and they were banging, they were bodying down low, a lot of shoulders flying, a lot of elbows flying. Jokic picked up one late foul. He could have had arguably 2 or 3 more. Embiid and LeBron could have had a couple more fouls too. But in general, wow, physical game, a lot of shot making, a lot of tough buckets, a lot of hard fought rebounds. It had everything you want in a world class game. I mean, this felt like a gold medal game. I mean, I'm not going to say that the gold medal game won't live up to this game, but wow, that was an instant classic. If you weren't there to watch it, I feel sorry for you. The US crowd was definitely necessary. I agree with you. They were quiet in the first half. It felt like a home game for Serbia at one point. You could hear them screaming defense, defense, and, they were cheering louder. It kind of felt like not to knock on you if you're a Miami Heat or Atlanta Hawk fan, but when the fans kind of show up late toward halftime and they take a little while to get into it, that's kind of what it felt like for the Team USA crowd. I mean, I of course wasn't there, but even through the TV, it felt like they were a little bit quiet in the first half, and then when the comebacks started mounting during the second quarter into the third and fourth, then you started hearing them. They're getting more into it, and yeah, it took everything for sure, man. Down 13 in the fourth. Yeah, it was really upsetting. I don't know if you were following what I was tweeting about, or probably anybody tweeting about during the third quarter with Steve Kerr. He took out pretty much, he's been doing it throughout the whole Olympic and even the exhibition showcase cup games, where he takes 5 guys in and 5 guys out of the lineup. He didn't do that to a T in this game, but he's still pretty much, he took out LeBron and Curry during the third quarter, even when Curry was hot. He took him out during the second quarter, or even the first quarter when he was hot too. And in a game like this, you got to ride the hot hand. When you're down 15, nearly 20 points, and you got a guy putting up 20 points in a quarter, and LeBron orchestrating the offense, and them kind of finding a rhythm, and they're mounting their comeback, and they get it within single digits, and you take them out of the game. I was like ripping my hair out watching the lineup rotations that Kerr was making. He's always kind of been a little bit wonky with that, and staying true to his game plan, but he finally committed to LeBron and Curry throughout the entire fourth quarter, and not making the routine rotation adjustment, or not adjustments, but their routine lineups throughout the game because it simply wasn't working. And eventually he finally stuck with Curry and LeBron and even Embiid for longer than their normal rotation on the court. And obviously that's what it took for them to make their comeback. And had he not let them do that, we would probably all be angry right now because they probably would have gotten beat. I think he took too long to do it, but eventually he stuck to it and let their main guys, Steph, LeBron, KD, Embiid, play a majority of the second half, only taking them out for small portions at a time, with that being Embiid and Curry, for at the end for more defensive ability, rotation, switchability with Bam Adebayo and Drew Holiday they brought in a couple times. But yeah, if Curry does that again, I would definitely be worried about what they're looking at rotation wise for the gold medal game. You can't go away from a hot hand like he did with Curry. There's nobody who can get hotter than that. Curry, 21 points during the first quarter, I think, had nearly 30 by the fourth quarter, and he's taking him out like it's a normal game, a normal rotation. Like they have another game after this if they get beat. And I know I was worried about that. I know the NBA world was talking about it and probably is still talking about it on Twitter and bashing Kerr for it. But ultimately, he made the right decisions toward the end. Was it nearly too late? Yes, but he finally committed to it, and it took everything they had to win. Shit, man, haven't been nervous in a basketball game since Game 5 of the 2020 NBA Final. Yeah, that's kind of what it felt like. More than that, in my opinion. It felt like, to me, 2010, the NBA Finals Game 7. That's like the amount of nervousness for that game that I felt. It's been over a decade probably for me. Would have been better if they played Tatum and AD more minutes, or would they have done better? A lot of people are talking about Jason Tatum getting that DNP today. I definitely, looking back on it, I would have played him over Anthony Edwards. If you were watching Ant throughout the game, way too much gambling. I referred to the gambling they were doing on defense before, and I don't think anyone did more gambling on defense than Anthony Edwards, and I don't know if it paid off for him even one time. Like, did he even have he had no steals, and overall, he got beat on defense a lot. A lot of their gambling between Edwards, Booker, Derek White had a few gambles that didn't pay off even. Drew Holiday had a few gambles for a normally, really, and he wasn't bad on defense throughout the game by any means, but he gambled more than usual, and their whole entire team did too. There's miscommunication on the court around the rim with their switching on defense, even during the fourth quarter a little bit, but a lot more during the first half. But to answer your question again, I probably would have went with Tatum over Ant looking back on it. But like going into the game with all the kind of guards and smaller wings and all the movement that Serbia likes to play with, not that Tatum can't keep up with it, but theoretically, I probably would think that Ant is the more slightly mobile and, can navigate screens a little bit better than Tatum. I don't blame Kerr for going that route. But after watching Ant for even 5-10 minutes, not even 10, like it took 5 minutes on the court for me to say, okay, this is not the game for Anthony Edwards. I would put Tatum in there, or play Derek White more, or play, just not have him in the game. There's way too much gambling going on in a game where they needed to be very strategic. They couldn't gamble. They couldn't afford to give up buckets like they were in the first half all the way up until the late third quarter. And it took Kerr way too long to realize that. Whether he would go with Tatum over Ant or, eventually sticking to the lineup that was working for them, which it took him until the fourth quarter to do. Yeah, I think he needed to be a little more assertive with his rotation out there and not letting, the normal guys out there, even though it's their normal rotation time to enter the game. You got to have a more firm hand here. And I don't think Kerr did that up until the fourth quarter. And it nearly was too little too late. In this game, Embiid had the hot hand on the big man rotation. So yeah, it was the right decision because Embiid can... Yeah, for sure. He had the hot hand in general. And the way they were playing him too, they let him walk all the way up to the free throw line to take a shot if he wanted to, which he finally did during the fourth quarter, and he made a few buckets that way. And yeah, it definitely was an Embiid game, even though he wasn't really the one, guarding Jokic or anything or taking on the main matchup per se, but it was more like physical style game that was suited for Embiid's play when he's not flopping, of course. But it definitely was a better fitting game for him compared to a Bam Adebayo or even Anthony Davis at times too. He got in foul trouble early, and not to complain too much about fouls, because I don't like to do all that, but Anthony Davis definitely had some ticky-tack fouls called on him compared to the way the game was being called in general. If you're going to let Jokic and Embiid and in general everyone throw shoulders and elbows in the paint, and then you're calling Anthony Davis for a few ticky-tack fouls on the arm and nudging back against Jokic, and you're calling that bothered me throughout the game quite a bit. Again, I don't want to complain too heavily about it. They ended up winning regardless, but yeah, I didn't like that part of the game. And hope Rob. Do I think Team USA is going to beat France? I mean, yeah, they have the better team, and I'd put my money on them, but if they play like they did during the first half, France, they definitely have a chance to win, no question about it. I mean, they played great against Germany today, who many people had favored to beat France, and Germany, a lot of people had pegged as the toughest team in the tournament. They won the FIBA World Cup last summer. They looked like arguably the best or second best team behind Team USA, the best team in their side of the bracket by far up until today. And France, they're a tough team. They got great rim protection with Victor Wembanyama, Rudy Gobert, even though he hasn't really played much lately, and I think that's actually helped their team, not for the fact that I'm saying that Gobert isn't a good player or anything, but it's simply about a better matchup for them, and they become more versatile defensively and offensively, especially with Gobert off the court. And he is dealing with an injury, I know too. I can't remember what it is, but having Wembanyama at that 5 has definitely unlocked a lot of the game for them. If you watched the game earlier, they were really taking advantage of their versatility against Germany, and Germany didn't really have a good lineup to combat them. And I think Team USA, if they don't find a similar way to not really, I wouldn't say take advantage of Wembanyama, because that's not something you can really do, but kind of either be more physical than France around the rim, whether it be with Embiid or maybe their AD Bam Adebayo lineup off the bench. If they find something that works early and they keep attacking them with it, that would be a good way to go about doing it. Or simply finding the weak man on defense. France, I got a few below average defenders, I would say, along the perimeter, kind of targeting them in pick and rolls, and using a lot more pin downs to free up Curry and getting him running around along the perimeter, along the 3-point line, and making their defenders keep up with him. And whether it's something like that or what I talked about before, they got to find something to take advantage of France early. If not, it might look like the same way of the Serbia game today, to where they're trying to do a bit too much of everything rather than going with one or two things that's working for them, which they finally committed to during the fourth quarter when it was nearly too late. But they're trying to do too much, in my opinion, not locked in defensively, and just not playing a complete game. And if that happens again, then yeah, I think it could be an upset or look similar to the way the game did today. Got a chat from the notorious CRG. Appreciate you, my guy. Got a 5. These kids, Curry and James, are gonna be good. Seriously though, are there still any worthwhile bigs that the Lakers can reasonably get? Well, I mean, not really. I'm going to talk about the first part of that question more with, the Team USA theme here today. But yeah, Curry and LeBron were absolutely terrific in this game. You couldn't ask for anything more from Curry. That was the 3-point shot making and the opening up the entire offense for the team that everybody has been waiting for up until this point. I mean, the best 3-point shooter of all time had not been playing that well, had not been shooting the ball that well, had even become a little bit hesitant at times too, which is something you never see from Steph Curry. But he finally got it going. He was not afraid to take any shot. He ran a bunch of isolation plays for himself. He called out his own number multiple times too, and they needed that assertiveness between him and LeBron. They took over, pretty much the entire offense throughout the game, with a little bit of Joel Embiid and Kevin Durant sprinkled in there, here and there as well. But yeah, no, those kids are sure good, all right. Without them, they definitely would not have won, and without the combination of them too. It took nearly all 36 from Steph for them to win this game. It took all 16, 12, and 10 of LeBron's triple-double for them to win this game. It took everything they had, and you wouldn't think it would be like that against a team to where a lot of us can't even name half their team, but Serbia definitely was the better team up until the final 5 minutes. They played like a better team. They weren't trying to play individual ball like Team USA had been for a lot of this game. And when the only individual that really had it going for himself was Steph Curry, you can't afford to play that way, and it nearly cost them. But yeah, they are pretty damn good. I would definitely agree with you. Not really any worthwhile bigs Lakers can get right now for the second part of your question, but maybe they'll end up being fine with a little bit of optimism from a comeback year from Christian Wood and Jackson Hayes building off of what he did late in the year. But yeah. Wenyan Gabriel. Yeah, pretty sure he was in attendance watching the game here too. Super proud of Wenyan Gabriel, the way he played with South Sudan throughout the entire Olympics. He was the flag bearer for their country, I'm pretty sure too. And he played extremely hard, played really well. That whole South Sudan team was so much fun to watch. They played so hard. If you would give out like a individual team awards for, best shooting, best defense, best hustle play, I would definitely give South Sudan the best hustle play of any team in the tournament. They worked their ass off every game. They played harder than majority of their opponents. They didn't really have, the NBA background, had only, I think 2 or 3 guys in their entire team with any at all NBA background. But yet they outworked their opponents. Wenyan Gabriel was really a leader for them, a driving force. And I wouldn't be shocked if Wenyan, a few other guys in their team, at least get like training camp offers, if not non-guaranteed or partially guaranteed contracts after how well they played. And you could make an argument for guys on Serbia, their team too, with how well they shot the ball, how well they have been shooting the ball throughout the entire tournament. They don't get to play with Nikola Jokic every day, but yeah, they were shooting the lights out throughout the whole tournament pretty much, and obviously in this game too. Guys like Avranovich, I can't even pronounce half their names, but Armanovich, I think, or I give up. But guys in their team, they were shooting the hell out of the ball. It was not only Bogdanovic or Micic off the bench. They had a ton of good three-point shooters, and even their bigs too. And that's kind of the main takeaway for me. The world, I'm not going to say has caught up with the US, or, if you want to make that argument, you can, in terms of like the way they play. I think they're definitely on par. The individual talent is not there yet, is how I would put it. But they figured out the way to, the best way to play the game, and like how it works for a bunch of teams in the NBA and their offense, and how they put it on the world stage and they're able to apply it to their team. They can definitely do that. Got another chat here from Gavin Bissell. Hopefully I pronounced your name right. Appreciate the super chat, brother. What's the beef with Bogdanovic and Melo? Again, I don't know if there's any beef there. I don't know. You can argue the way he was staring him down, maybe a little bit. I kind of felt like it was more complimentary right away anyways, where, looking at him doing the 3 to the dome celebration and kind of, inspiration driven. The way I think maybe he was so into the game, Bogdanovic, I'm saying, it kind of felt aggressive toward the end. And that's maybe why it looked a little bit not so friendly toward the end. But I don't think there's any beef between them. But Bogdanovic and LeBron might have beef after this game, the way he was, elbowing him and the way they're going at each other and talking. Wouldn't doubt if Bogdanovich and Embiid have an NBA confrontation after Bogdanovich threw a couple elbows at him during the fourth quarter too. But no, I'd chalk it up to it being a really, really intense game and Bogdanovich having, I'm not going to say the game of his life because he drops 20 a game in the NBA all the time, but him being, a much higher option and priority on the Serbia team compared to what he is in the NBA. And, a lot of guys simply having pride for their country and getting into it, not wanting to get beat. They had an opportunity to beat Team USA, something that has not been done in the Olympics for, going all the way back to 2004 now, 2 decades, and they nearly pulled it off. I chalk it up to the game being intense and Bogdanovich getting really into it. But, and then second part of your question, JSH vid, do you mean Jalen Hood-Schifino? I don't think we really have an update on him about an injury, his recovery or anything. I haven't been looking too heavily into it, if I'm being honest with you, but I'll definitely plan on going through pretty much every individual player on their team, the expectations going into next season, what I'm looking forward to from them, whether they're a young player and I'm talking about development, or they're a role player and I'm talking about how they can best fill their role within Redick's new rotation or his new system for their team in general. We'll talk about all of that, and I'm sure I'll talk about Hood-Schifino along with all the young guys eventually here before training camp begins. What an insane game, though, huh, guys? I still can't believe that, how not back and forth it was, but the entirety of the comeback it took for their team and how much it took from LeBron and Curry for them to have. I'm not going to say it was LeBron's best game ever. There were a few comments I read about you guys talking a little bit about him not, playing that hard on defense in the beginning. And it wasn't only LeBron. Maybe he didn't commit fully on defense in the beginning, which, he does here and there. He's 39 years old. He's got to pace himself a little bit. But like I talked about, the gambling on defense, that's really what cost them, in my opinion. In the first half and up until the third quarter in general, they're gambling way too much. The communication was not really there. I mean, Kevin Durant and LeBron and Embiid even had a really bad miscommunication during the mid to late fourth quarter when they were bringing a double team on Jokic. And I think it came down to that. It was a lot of miscommunication and, gambling on defense as opposed to, one guy, playing the blame game, one guy's fault on defense, or I don't think it was really anything like that. And yeah. Would I prefer Wenyen over Jackson Hayes or Christian Wood? I remember Wenyen was a good rebounder and now he has a 3-point shot. I don't know if I'd prefer him as a player over Hayes or Wood, but I mean, in situations against like a team like Golden State, for example, there I would probably have a Wenyen Gabriel over them, a little more defensive versatility and can keep up with quicker players. But I don't know, there's not really a great fit for Wenyen on their team right now. I'm trying to stay away from the Lakers talk too heavily right now. We're focusing on the USA Serbia game here, but in general, I think Wenyen should be on an NBA team. I've always been a big Wenyen Gabriel fan. I love hardworking role players in general. Guys that made it to the NBA through their hard work, not really... I mean, everybody in the NBA and even professional basketball, they're individually talented, of course, but guys like Wenyen or a Caruso, Gary Payton II, who didn't make it from their individual talent on offense or, shot creation, 3-point shooting, they worked hard to earn their spot in the NBA. And I think Wenyen showed that he can definitely still have plenty to offer a team. I mean, he did it on the world stage. Who's to say he can't be a 9 through 12th guy on an NBA team? I think he definitely should be on a team. I would be pretty disappointed if not only Wenyen, but nobody on South Sudan got a training camp invite at the bare minimum, if not an NBA contract, whether it be non-guaranteed, partially guaranteed, fully guaranteed. I don't care. Get some of them guys on an NBA team. Not only them, but other teams too. I mean, Serbia, they got some good talent on their team. Australia, they got eliminated, but they have NBA guys like Patty Mills, of course, even though he's not signed to a team right now. But there's a lot of talent around the world that is not on an NBA team right now. And it's not only Wenyan, but a bunch of guys all around that should be given a non-guaranteed offer at the bare minimum, in my opinion. Felt the game needed Tatum since he could defend and shoot threes. I mean, theoretically, they should have gotten that from Anthony Edwards and Derek White, which they usually do for the most part, and they weren't bringing it today. In that regard, I would agree with you, but it's kind of more of a shoulda, coulda, woulda, in my opinion, rather than, it's the obvious better plan going into the game. I don't know if I would say that. It didn't really feel like it to me. It feels crazy, I agree, not playing Jason Tatum, who won an NBA championship like 2 months ago, and you can't find a spot for him on your team. But it's like, he's a good defender, but it's like you get a little bit more screen navigation and kind of what they needed for this particular matchup on defense, theoretically anyways, going into the game from Derek White, Anthony Edwards, as opposed to Jason Tatum. Looking back on it, I would definitely go with Tatum over them, but yeah, that's kind of the takeaway here for me. This should have been a Halliburton game. I've seen a few people talking about that too, to where he would have put a little more pressure, not really rim penetration, but kind of getting into the paint and around the free throw line extended, to where, Drew Holiday and even LeBron weren't really doing that. Curry had it going, of course, so they're looking for him heavily. But when Curry was off the court, they didn't really have anyone in there that really attacked the Serbia defense the way that Halliburton might have been able to. And from that standpoint, I agree. But from an overall standpoint, I would agree with Halliburton being the final guy on their bench. And, of course, the best guys in the NBA, a lot of them anyway, are on Team USA. So that's not a knock on him by any means. But yeah, it might have been a Halliburton game. Who knows? Enjoy the gold medal game. The last time that a lot of these legends will suit up for the team. Yeah, and for sure, I think a lot of people got to be aware of that. Enjoy them while you can, whether it's LeBron, Curry, or other guys for a different country even too, to where, we might not think that high of a guy like Patty Mills in the NBA. I mean, I've always been a big Patty Mills fan, but he reportedly won't play again for Team Australia, and that's a legend for their country. I mean, he won them a bronze medal back in the 2020 Tokyo Olympics, and we don't think much of a bronze medal or a silver medal for Team USA basketball, but for Australia or a different country like that, helping them win that kind of a medal in general in basketball is a big deal. And it's the final time you're going to get to watch guys like Patty Mills, or, whether it's, what's his name for Spain again? Rudy Fernandez. He officially retired from the entire game of basketball. Guys like that, you got to, appreciate in general, to where even though we might not watch them in the NBA anymore, they're kind of legends of the game in their own right on a world stage. And you got to appreciate that. That's my favorite thing about the Olympics. You get to watch, what if this NBA player that might just be a regular role player on an NBA team, what if you give them the freedom to be a number one and number two or number three guy, and then they show what they can do? Guys like Patty Mills, Bogdanovich, guys like that, to where they're getting to fill a bigger role on the world stage, and they're showing how talented the NBA really is, to where an average role player in a lot of our eyes can be one of the best players on a really good Olympic team. And that's kind of the coolest part of the Olympics for me, getting to watch guys like that and really appreciating the game, from not only looking at it from LeBron and Steph Curry, they're great, and we know them from the NBA and everybody knows their name, but the role players in the NBA that get to play in the world, fill a bigger role on an Olympic team around the world. That's the coolest part to me, and I love watching it. It's so much fun. And yeah, back to your comment, really appreciate all of them that it will be their final time in the Olympics, because we're getting to see a lot of special performance from not only Team USA, but like I mentioned before, Patty Mills, to where that Australia Serbia game, if you watched that two days ago, back on Tuesday, I think, he had like 20 during the first quarter too. He looked a lot like how Steph Curry did today, making everything, knocking down like 4 3-point shots in the first quarter. And yeah, really appreciate guys like that, to where it might be their final time playing in the Olympics, or even FIBA in general. Yeah, in general, I hope you guys enjoyed the game as much as I did. That was a lot of fun. It looked quite a bit stressful too, I won't lie. I had not been yelling at my TV like that in quite some time, but what a game. Team USA has officially made the gold medal game, and they will be playing France, which will be an incredibly fun matchup. Not only Victor Wembanyama, but Rudy Gobert, he's hurt kind of, but Evan Fournier, all the guys in their team that you might not think much of in the NBA again. They've been playing incredibly well in the Olympics. It's not going to be a gimme game by any means at all. It's going to be tough. It's going to take a full effort from Team USA to win that gold medal, and they can't afford to be lackadaisical. They can't come out of the gates not playing hard again, or gambling on defense, lacking communication, anything like that. It's going to take what they showed during the second half of this game for them to win a gold medal. And overall, I hope you guys got to watch it. If not, definitely recommend watching back the entire game, not only the highlights. They won't do it justice. You got to definitely watch the second half all the way through of this game. Appreciate what Curry, LeBron, and Embiid did. Incredible game from them. It took everything, and it was a ton of fun to watch. But appreciate you guys tuning into this stream. We'll do more in the future. And hopefully we'll definitely talk about the gold medal game after that's done with. Probably a live stream for that. I'll talk about it in some form or fashion, but hope you guys enjoyed it as much as I did. Appreciate you tuning in, and we'll do more in the future. Have a good rest of your day, guys.